Hope, Power, and Healthcare with Chris Hemphill and
Melissa Riley.
Okay. See, at least we get our names right. But this is something that we don't do very often, is like put something out really fast after a piece of news comes out. But this was something that Melissa had discovered, and people are blowing up her phone about this recent merger that's happened between Spring Health and Alma. There's some deep implications there for our mental health infrastructure, the data surrounding it, the way that people engage, the consolidation, and the question of, given this type of movement in the market, how should our founders and partners and innovators that we're working with, how should they think about moving based on this news? Does that sound like a good frame up to just talk about that for our fam?
Yeah, I think for sure. And I think my biggest surprise when I saw this was more, I can't believe it took this long for a move like this to happen in the space. It's kind of something that I think we've been dancing around, we're talking about. I think most people believed that Spring or Lyra, they're both, kind of in a rush to IPO. There's other thoughts out there on, what are the potential moves that these companies could make based on how much money they've raised so far. And it's been a significant amount of funding that's gone into both of these companies and their competitors.
So when we think about this then for the fam, especially people that are new to the topic, one of the big reasons that we started this podcast is that it's a difficult environment when you're mission driven and you're focused on health equity and things like that. And it's also a difficult environment in terms of funding. There was a peak of funding back in 2022, and that's dwindled, but now we're starting to see some significant M&A opportunity activity in this space. Could you help just share like the background, Spring Health and Alma, what those companies are and why this dance together is significant?
Yeah, and not having specifically worked at either of these two companies, but working with them, I'll do my best to kind of speak of these companies in the way that I knew them or how I perceived them. There's probably some pieces that I'm not as close to, having not actively worked with either of the two in the last year or so. But when Spring emerged on the scene, it was what was considered like a modernized EAP. And so for those that aren't as familiar with the EAP model, like traditionally that was very telephonic. It would be 5 to 12.
The EAP, 6. For those not familiar, that's employee
assistance program.
Yeah, and those are very heavily involved in making mental health and health equity resources available for employees.
Yeah, or even just wellness. And so a lot of times through an EAP, you could get advice or guidance on like how to go through a divorce or get some legal resources without having to pay lawyers. And it was one of those benefits that not everyone knew about or how to use. But because most of the existing EAPs were not digital native and they were mostly telephonic, I think there was a huge opportunity when Spring came on scene to digitize the capabilities and make it the UX and the UI much more friendly, and then allow people to more easily access mental health. And while sitting inside a payer, we might have been, worried or nervous about how would, the market disruption impact our product sales. I think no one could doubt that digitizing or making it more easy to access mental health was a really good thing. So much of a good thing. You saw like Spring and Highmark make a partnership maybe 3 years ago. I never really saw too many results coming out of that. I'm sure someone from Highmark could send it to us. I bet there were some results that happened when Spring and Highmark started to integrate. And then when you turn to a company like an Alma, and I've had some awesome times collaborating with their CEO and their team, in two payers. what I would say
What,
about an Alma, they sold to payers to be able to help payers support their network infrastructure. So they would help a payer make their network more easily available, versus where Spring originally was playing was more kind of direct to customer facing, even though Alma did too. They were going in the EAP benefit, and then the Almas and their competitors were more focused on the payer side.
so Alma, like I am in their customer profile. I don't have Alma yet. What do they do? Like, what do they change for me as a potential purchaser of their solution?
Oh, so great question. So Alma still provides mental health therapy services, but like kind of in the same way that Uber and Lyft started to aggregate the individual drivers and give them the capability to practice, to, use their cars to give rides. Alma was very much doing the same thing for the individual therapists. So they would offer their platform to the therapist, but instead of, originally starting direct to consumer, Alma would offer that same set of services back to the payers, so that they weren't necessarily like payer competitors. They were like payer helpers.
Interesting. So Alma has these like they're founded on this direct to consumer relationship, which means they have an understanding about the needs on that side, as well as the needs of the behavioral health specialists that they're enabling on their platform. So when we think about Alma and Spring coming together, I know that we have the link to the article from Behavioral Health Business in the comments, and they were careful with their wording. They didn't announce like all of the specific changes and things like that. So we'll get a little bit speculative here. What are some of the implications that you think that our founders should be considering for 1 year, 2 years down the road? Like, are the implications more on the I'll stop there. Implications 1 year, 2 years down the road.
Yeah, again, we are speculating. I think what's really interesting is like historically EAP and mental health benefits have been somehow divided. Like most people can't tell the difference between an EAP session and a therapy session or a coaching session, but they've been treated in benefit design deep in the plans quite differently. And so this becomes the start of moves that we're seeing around integration. A company that was maybe, I don't want to say single threaded, but maybe singularly focused is now moving into another area through partnership. But for those in the mental health space and for payers, I think this is quite interesting because, there's deep relationships that companies like Alma have created, and now to be part of Spring, and I know Spring has bought other companies, you start to see Spring rolling up a ton of mental health capabilities, potentially making it one of the largest funding efforts towards mental health, I think that we've ever seen. So if you start to add the math on that funding, you're at almost $700 million in funding towards mental health. Part of that's kind of exciting.
I like seeing funding direction. I like seeing things dedicated to, we come a long way for this being an extremely stigmatized area. And, when you start digging deeper on EAPs, there are a lot of things that people don't know about that can help them benefit. What are seeing some of the funding there? What would be on your wish list for like capabilities, like things that serve members, patients, and things like that? What's on your wish list for these folks to be able to do better now that they have this combined force?
Yeah, if it's okay, I think the piece that I missed ahead of that question of the wish list is like the market implications. And then I'll come back to the wish list in a moment. So where I think this makes it harder for our founders and for the innovators is now you have this behemoth that's already taking generalized mental health through kind of the Alma platform. Then you've got the EAP through the Spring platform, although I think the criticism of Spring sometimes is that like higher price point. And so I don't know, you'd have to kind of model through the data what those implications now are on the supply side. Now, I don't know what the overlap is in the therapists that are serving, moonlighting, maybe working for Spring, but then also maybe working for Alma. We don't know what that starts to look like. But now you have this other bigger entity, which in some ways is like a provider group, not necessarily attached to a payer, that has a lot of market power. And so I just think it starts to make it even more challenging for some of these new market entrants to come in and do unique things. If any reaction to that before I go into, okay, and then what features would I want from this combined entity? Because I could list like 7.
You know me. Like, I'm all about anything that like encourages a diversity of companies, approaches, and things like that. And you're saying that this is potentially harmful, more difficult for innovators to come in with various ideas to offer to employers. Like, if someone has come in, like in the hospital space, you saw like if a hospital bought Epic, then that would handle a whole lot of different services and things like that. And you're calling the IT shop, and they're like, "No, thanks, we've already got Epic, so that we're already covered on that." Or if there was something cool, something that they were even powerful interested in, that sounds interesting, but we're going to wait and see what Epic's going to do. Is that what's coming based on that?
You nailed it. I mean, I think we already hear it. I think a lot of companies that come out and want to start like a mental health practice, right? I think the first question is, well, how is this different than a Spring? How is this different than a Headway? How is this different than an Alma? I think most people would already assume that if you wanted to start a generalized mental health practice just for anxiety disorders, you have to come in with a really unique angle of why these big guys aren't doing it and your new way of doing therapy is better. I think the only thing that I'm starting to see that is maybe slightly different is like metabolic therapy, metabolic psychiatry. People are like, well, that's just traditional. They're using CBT or they're using just, talk therapy. We're different because, we're looking at biometrics. We're different because we're looking at your energy levels and burnout and others. But, it's such a difference from 10 years ago where you didn't have the technology in these practices, and there was such an opportunity to potentially like roll up groups and do something. So we really are living in the next generation of mental health. It's kind of interesting.
Do these platforms, like going on the Epic example too, there are app gardens and opportunities to integrate and things like that, and I just can't see where like two companies merged together are going to provide every type of intervention that's going to be helpful for people. So are there opportunities to integrate, like if someone is assessing the market, should they just like put a black box over everything that already has a Spring Alma relationship, or I guess what should that reaction be? And sorry to delay the wish list question, but you awakened something inside of me.
Well, I think all of these teams have partnership divisions, and I know many people that have approached each of them and have worked on partnerships, some successful, some not, right? I think the worry is always, do they take your IP? And not saying anyone has done that. I'm not accusing anyone of that, but it's like a lot of times then now we're in a David versus Goliath situation.
David versus Goliath. I get, yeah. So have you seen that happen frequently, where there's like this innovation that someone comes up with, and they come and they share it with this other company, and they say, "Oh, I like that idea. I'm just going to do that on my own." How frequently do you see that?
I mean, you hear about the really bad tales. I don't. It's not really where I spend most of my day, but I do think like, NDAs and. You have to be very, very careful around your IP protections. I think the other problem is also just awareness or lack of knowledge on things. Unless you're deeply diligencing some of the things to be able to say, what is that unique IP, Chris? It can be really, a lot of times I think things can be shooed away because they think it is alike, even if there actually is a unique differentiator. but we don't get to that level of specificity to be able to say, oh, I see that difference, but also maybe viability, that the thing that makes you different is actually very viable.
So I do have some advice based on that, because in the 2010s, I was at this company called Influence Health that it came up against Epic a lot. It was offering patient portal services and things like that. And of course, Epic released ByChart and stuff. And we were, again, this is history, but the way that we had to respond to that at the time was to have a sufficiently differentiated system. We had to really hone in on the areas of the value proposition that we knew that the behemoth wasn't going to focus on. So where they might have been focused on helping to check IT, help IT check the box for meaningful use, where our company got its strength and was able to win deals was focusing in on the marketing department, which was not really part of Epic's domain, and focus in on delivering a great configurable experience for people engaging the patient portals. Of course, clearly Epic beat out Influence Health. Influence Health is no more. But for the folks out there innovating that might have things that are the baby that might get thrown out with the bathwater just because of that kind of surface level look, just wanted to emphasize on focusing in on where that value prop begins, and where Spring overlaps, like identifying where you're extremely strong, where they wouldn't want to invest in that area anyway. And for the short term, that can either win deals or help, as you gain traction, help become a better acquisition target.
I think one of the things that's interesting for me, I talk to a lot of people that have ideas for companies now, and I really enjoy that moment. And I spend so much time when, they have a baby little idealet going, well, how is this not like this other thing that is out there that I already know about? And I think now with the advent of the LLMs, it is so much easier to understand these other companies that are out there in a way that we never could before, which I hope helps the innovators be able to better differentiate their own value proposition and make that more clear to others. I think, like I said, when you're living in this next generation, you do have to go up against these behemoths. But you know what is giving me hope and inspiration is the LLM tools. So I would say if, a Spring or Alma like entity rolled up today with like the Claude that is out there, or, the Chat GPTs, I just wonder how many less millions could have been spent in the build out of these companies.
Wait, can you give me a little bit more on that?
Yeah.
So the LLMs, what's the potential savings that you're seeing there? Or
well, I'm just watching some of these founders use some of this tooling to build like apps and prototypes and code in ways that I think a lot of these companies put a lot of millions in hiring engineers and hiring marketing teams. And now with agentic AI, you could probably make a case that could you rebuild a behemoth? Now you'd have to worry about market adoption, so you would need some time to get the therapists that are all on these other platforms to convert. But even think about the money that was put into these companies. Now, could you code a new company faster because you're using all AI based coding to build these companies instead of having to do it manually, such as these others have done.
Let's be 100% real faux real over here. Is that when I read about Amazon cutting 16,000 jobs earlier this week, Salesforce cutting jobs, hiring freezes, Microsoft as well, Meta, I think 10,000 layoffs over the past 4 weeks. When I read about those things, I'm always thinking, and I was talking to Corinne Strum, she's the head of innovation over at Scan Health Plan, and we look at that as, okay, well, there's a lot of people with a lot of talent, a lot of knowledge on the sidelines, lots of understanding about the latest development processes and tools, and these big, slow-moving behemoths out there, they're shedding that talent, they're shedding the future competition. So if you have all those people on the sidelines, like these building tools are helpful in terms of bringing down cost of prototyping and development. I actually advise founders and innovators that I'm working with, even though I build end-to-end applications and things like that. But one of the things I like to get people to do early is prototype something using using one of the LLM-based tools, and that way they're coming they're coming to me with an example that is more fleshed out than like some boxes on a PowerPoint slide, etc. So even though you're going to get mixed results if you're like engineers and data scientists, they have their flows with these tools, and the vast majority use them. So I'm not putting out any advice there, because like there's everybody has. I think a lot of people have their established flow already, but for people who haven't touched code before, but want to get something to more of a fleshed out idea, I'm going to just give a couple of hints, which are that no, you're not like today. You're not going to build a quote unquote production ready system off of this, but that's not even the point. You still want to align with technical people, especially in this market, that have the understanding of infrastructure, security, privacy. These are obligations, ethical obligations to your members and patients, et cetera. But you're getting an idea out, and you're able to kind of work with the system a little bit, like prompt it and go back and forth, and start seeing something that's more close to fruition of your idea. The thing that I want to point out to you though is that sometimes there's something weird where when I tell people to go through these exercises, sometimes the stuff that they're coming up with looks very similar to each other, even though they're approaching different problems and things like that. So I am thinking, I don't know what they prompted, I don't know what they were doing, but I want you to like while you're doing this stuff, push back on the design decisions and don't let it take over your thinking. Like, it's going to present you some things that look kind of good, but you've got to protect yourself against like getting like falling into the same falling to developing things that are of sameness.
So I'm going to argue a slightly different point, right? And or maybe, have you ever heard that expression? There's more than one way to skin a cat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, like when we think about some of the function features inside healthcare, there is so much sameness. So let's talk about that a little bit. So I would say in the seeking of the care, you're going to pretty much always need appointment setting, right? You need to be able to connect the person who has the need to the person that can give the care. Some of that, I mean, you almost wish there could be like just a standard API, and there probably is, I'm just not a coder, right? For like making appointments, right? The nuance for me is always in the edges around making the appointment. It's like the matching algorithm that says like which hairdresser or which whatever is the right therapist for me, and do I want someone that likes my blonde hair, or like someone that can do coloring, or someone that is can handle different nationality hair, right? I mean, like if we go back to that in the idea of like matching with a hairstylist versus a therapist appointment, the matching part, it's like what are the inputs that create the right output on the back end. But all of that is often super standard across all these companies. And so, you've got a ton of money flowing in to do a lot of the same activity. It's the non-sameness that's the unique part. So I don't think people, to your really great point, I don't think people spend enough point on like, what is their unique differentiator?
Yes.
So yes, maybe appointment booking looks pretty the same, but it's the appointment matching that is unique for that specific company.
Yeah, and it's a hard line to walk, because like sometimes, like maybe you're guided towards a certain UX pattern because it's pretty good. It's pretty functional.
It does the job. It does.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times in my career have I built appointment booking, like way more times than I should ever have to. And now, the other day, I was booking my family, and I did something in Google. I don't even know how. And the little Google agent went and made my appointment for me. It was like I was on Resi, but the agent ended up calling the restaurant. It was a Mexican restaurant in Connecticut. And then all of a sudden I got a note back from the agent that was like, your appointment is confirmed. I was like, ooh, it's like a butler. I love this.
Got the job done for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then close the loop.
We've got to get that gravity back to, I asked a question and then we went on several tangents, but the wish list.
As we do. Well, I told you one of them. I want my little butler. I want my little agentic butler, and I want to be able to type into it, and I want to say, book me an appointment with Headway. And I want to say, book me an appointment with my EAP provider. I don't know who that is at the moment, but I will look for that. I will just type it into my field, and then the butler is going to book my appointment. I don't even want to book my appointment. Right, Alyssa? Alyssa knows this. She's my current butler. She smiles. She's smiling, right? That is definitely one feature. I think the other feature that I want to see more of is like the clinical validity in my own outcomes. Now, I know there's a danger sometimes in mental health and sharing outcomes with patients, but I sure would love to continue to see the report of like, I've had 7 EAP visits and I've had 20 behavioral health visits. And Melissa, when you started this journey, your PHQ score was 7, and then now you're at a 9. So, I'm making all these things up, but like, it would still be nice to get to see my outcomes in real time.
Well, I like to think of it like this. Like, we're both people who are operating under different legal entities. We met while you were under a legal entity of Evernorth and I was under Wobot, yet here we are under different legal structures still as friends and still as people who are somewhat connected to who we were 2 years ago. So the idea of like having our records and things like that follow us at our discretion how we want, and being able to draw a line all the way through through as much of our history as possible, I think is great. And I'm going to quote a great rapper, Jared Johnson, the host of the Healthcare Rap podcast, who what's the lyric? It is patient tech, consumer health, and marketing. Break down the silos. We're all on the same team. So sorry to butcher your rap, Jared, but I like the idea of can we use this to eliminate the redundancies and redundant interfaces and things like that. So I look at that. I look at that as a potential hopeful outcome out of this. But they were light on details, and we're just speculating here. So we just got to wait and see.
For sure. And don't gatekeep yourself in this rapping, Chris. You're pretty good. I think we should do a clip, and it should be Chris's rap and then the real rap, and we'll see how close he got. People can vote on, our fam can vote on how well you executed the rap. And I do love music for learning. And I do think we're only scratching the surface of what, these two combined entities could start to do. So I know I will be watching.
Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. And again, we still have a deep no hot takes policy. So hope the caveats have satisfied anybody who's hating out there. Like, oh yeah, we caveated it appropriately.
And a history of EAP and mental health and how these two companies came to be from our perception is definitely not a hot take. It's a thoughtful analysis.
Yeah, we're keeping it thoughtful, and just like with big news that happens like that, I think it's helpful to just like have that perspective, like, because you see something, you see your friends chattering about it. Why is this a thing? Why does this matter? And we just help it out a little bit with that.
In local news, yes.
Yeah. So let's do it. Pop culture, the influences, the stuff that's been keeping us afloat. Like, again, it's ridiculous out here. It's crazy out here in the streets with the crisis in Minnesota and everything like that. But I advise everybody that I talk to, like, I used to say, hey, hope 2026 is off to a good start for you. But now I'm more like, hey, hope that you're finding the time to rest and recover and recharge while you approach the year. So what's helping you with that rest, recovery, and recharging?
Oh, that's a very thoughtful question, as I spent 8 hours in the Minnesota airport yesterday. And,
oh, my God.
And people warned me when they heard I was on this adventure not to leave the airport. So I think it's very smart to take a moment of rest and recovery. I think what is bringing me joy is two things. So we got a puppy for my daughter. It is a teeny tiny little golden doodle puppy. Her name is Belle. Belle's about 3 pounds. And during the school day, when I am at my house and not on travel, I am Belle's minder to let Belle out every hour and a half, right? And so I cannot tell you how good puppy snuggles are for your mentality. I could be having the worst day, and then I scoop up the little puppy, and I have my other puppy, but I don't usually hold him during the day. So now I'm just holding an emotional support puppy all day long, and I'm like, this is fabulous.
Shout out to Belle. Is Belle going to be offered as a service on Spring Health?
That is a beautiful feature. Press the button for your emotional support dog to be Ubered to your house.
Yes.
So it's a great feature. I love it. And meanwhile, Belle and I have been watching My Next Guest with the family on, Netflix? The episode that got my children to sit spellbound is when Mr. Beast is the guest on My Next Guest. And so you see, Chris, it's probably how I just described the legacy EAP. So you have Dave Letterman, who was like a little avant-garde for late night talk show time, and they show him like blowing up things. And then they show Mr. Beast, who has built a prison on his property in North Carolina, where there currently is a former inmate and a former police officer living in his prison to earn $400,000. My daughter is going, Mom, you have just ruined the Mr. Beast experience for me. But I am sitting there taking notes and going, this man is a genius, and when can I build my prison on my yard to trap people in?
Wait, how did you ruin the Mr. Beast experience?
Oh, for my daughter?
Yeah.
Part of what they show in Mr. Beast is like their soundstage and their money, and like I just don't think she wanted to know any of this. Like she didn't want the behind the scenes. She just wanted to like enjoy the Mr. Beast for what it is. You know, and she
wanted Mr. Beast to be Mystery Beast.
Mystery Beast, yes. She didn't want the layers peeled back. You know me, I love the layers peeled back.
Yeah.
I'm like, can I go visit this Mr. Beast warehouse? And
yeah, he is to be studied in terms of engagement and all that jazz. Like he's done some. Yeah, I'm surprised that the seeing behind the scenes on that ruined it for her. But different people coming into these things for different reasons.
Well, I mean, again, like the children, the younger generation. You know, for us, Mr. Beast is so. Alyssa's in the chat. Can I be the first one to participate in the Melissa Mr. Beast brand expansion? Yes, Alyssa, you can have a Feastable. We will start mailing those out. When you look at like a Mr. Beast, you know, I think we more anchor in the world. Well, maybe I think I'm older than you. In the world of David Letterman, you know, so we are used to waiting to, you know, the next day to hear what Letterman has to say. My children can doom scroll into Mr. Beast Island anytime they want. You know, there's no waiting for the next episode. They're just going back through all of his world of content whenever they want it. It's just a different, such a different experience. And even when you look at his early journey of videoing to what he's building now on his soundstage or the island or the Mr. Beast games, you're like, Melissa has totally... she's fallen into the Mr. Beast universe, but it's fascinating.
Yeah, we're gonna one up Mr. Beast with Dr. Beast, the Hope, Power, and Healthcare game show.
I love it.
Actually, yeah, that might be fun.
Get ready, people! I'll start building the prison in my backyard. Letterman's like, is this kidnapping? And I think Beast is like, no, Jimmy's going, no, they consented to this. It's not kidnapping. They're here of their own violation or free will.
Mine is a little bit old school. Like for the Breaking Bad fans out there, I only just recently got into the prequel, Better Call Saul. And, are you Better Call Saul enjoyer?
My husband is, yes. I've seen several episodes.
It's just resonated with me. Like, so for the Breaking Bad fans that might not have seen it, it's all about that like Saul Goodman was a very lovable character, but you only got a little bit of him. This one goes all the way back to him in the beginning, going on his founder journey as an attorney. Which, that could have been you, Melissa. Like you're
could have been me. Could have, would have, should have. Yeah.
Have the degree for it. But yeah, it's gonna sound corny, but I can't watch it without thinking about founder journeys. Like, okay, again, like nobody doing all the shady things and being involved in like the drug cartel business, and obviously not that, but just thinking about that relationship to where there were times in the series where he had the opportunity to break away from his entrepreneurial journey and go with like these big established firms, and without spoiling anything, it just wasn't for him. So it's just, I can't stop watching it because it like outside of the violence and drug dealing, there's just some parallels there that are interesting to explore, and yeah, been addicted to that.
This is probably not a clip that we should put on repeat, but one of the things I think a lot about is salary is the retainer or the amount or the fee they pay you to give up your dreams.
Ooh, yeah. I actually I think about that too, in terms of someone in the fam has just announced that she's put in her 2 weeks, and that she's going independent as a consultant. And I asked why, and it was all about like, hey, I'm starting to see myself more as a business than an employee. And my thought is always like, you have always been a business. It's just that you're committed to only having one client.
Ooh, I love both of these. I can see that. And what the other thing that has been really interesting, since we're getting deep thoughts and this was supposed to be pop culture, is that not everyone cares about their work at the level that they do. So I do believe, and I think we've talked about this before, there are live to work people and there are work to live people. And so there are some people that are so excited by the work that they're doing that they prioritize that over other things. And then there's others that like are excited about their work, or they want to do an excellent job, but they would much rather potentially not work. And that's just a journey and a choice. And, I think being an entrepreneur is a journey and a choice.
Yeah. And I think that, if you sit down and really think about what you're wanting to learn about and understand about the world, I mean, a lot of our people you're bringing lives into this world. You've got 3 plus pup. And
2 pups.
Plus pups.
2 pups, yes.
But often, like a lot of that work journey, if you look it might look like you're living to work, but maybe there's something deeper that work simply enables for you. For example, like with Wobot Health, of course I was interested in having the job and working at a company and everything like that. But the deeper interest was being able to understand humanity at a little bit of a deeper level, because we're in a certain place while people like we were a chatbot that was available for people while they were having their deepest needs and struggles. Given knowledge about natural language processing and language models, both small and large, and things like that, there was a whole lot to be learned about, like understanding these patterns from 1.4 million users, and that has stuck with me in terms of how I relate to people. Like I much better understand like how stressed out and how much of a mental health issue it is when people go in for surgeries and orthopedics and things like that. So perhaps it might look like you're living to work, but maybe I just want to invite people to think about like what the deeper journey is, not just like, of course the work enables salary or income in some kind of way, but what else does it do for you is a question that I would like for people to think about.
Yeah, and if it's not doing enough, do something different.
Do something different. Wow, this is fun. And let's get back to that closing it out, the uniqueness concept and stuff like that. The fam is growing on Discord. Get in there, and if you're working on any kind of prototypes or you have ideas, there's a couple of things going on in there. There's a like in the Innovator Lounge, you can talk about like the types of stuff that you're building, working on, and you'll get really good feedback and responses. Like I'll even talk to people, and like somebody told me that they were an FDA consulting on clinical viability and FDA viability for startups. I was like, join our Discord, be a part of our community, and that way when those questions come up, like we're curating this, it's you and it's this curated group as well. So join up and get those kinds of questions answered. Share your prototype concepts and things like that, and get the pushback and feedback and stuff like that. You can only go so far asking, hey, ChatGPT, is this a good idea? Get in there and be with the peoples, and we'll talk back and forth. We're trying to build more community and connectivity with this thing.
Yeah, and it's a safe place to talk to other innovators, which I think is really the goal of why we do what we do, is that innovation is hard, healthcare is harder, and we just want to bring a little love and light to those that are trying to make a difference.
All right, and with that, we will see you next week, fam. Thanks for this kind of quick hitter, sticking with us with this quick hitter episode. We just wanted to really give some clarity around what those implications are, Spring and Alma.